Yo.
Hit it, hit it.
This kind of game tonight is what Hewitt Trustful was thinking when they hired Josh Floyd 2 years ago. The Huskies host 5th-ranked Bob Jones in a Region 4 showdown. The Huskies have risen to number 3 in the state's largest classification, just behind perennial powers McGill, Tulane, and Hoover. And I have to be honest, I've been looking forward to tonight's Friday Night Rivals game of the week for one big reason. And that's the way that dynamo, Grayson Cash, plays for the Huskies. They line that kid up all over the field and get him the ball, and he does the rest. I hate comparisons, but the way they use him, he's like Christian McCaffrey of Stanford. Grayson, cold hard Cash is money.
He's a guy that will put in the backfield, but will also split him out as a receiver, and I think he ends up being a lot faster than people think on Friday night. And so I think he's definitely a mismatch for defense.
We go out there, we try to score every time. We know, our goal is at least 40 points a game, and so it's fun racking up these kind of numbers right now. So hopefully we can keep it going.
Tonight is a big test against 5th-ranked Bob Jones. If this game doesn't decide which team is region champ, it'll certainly put the winner in position.
I think it's going to be a great night for high school football, man. I think this is what you work hard for. This is what these guys work year-round for in the summer. And so I think it's going to be a lot of fun for both teams. Hopefully we're going to play at a high level. And I know Bob Jones is going to bring their A game, and I think it's going to be a great night.
I don't envy Bob Jones having to deal with that offensive juggernaut that is Hewitt Trustful. The Patriots are well aware that the Huskies have scored 78 in one game, 62 in another, and 55 in another.
Well, they've scored over 100 points more than we have at this point in the season. So obviously, we've got a really explosive offense. They got 3 really good skill guys and a good quarterback. Defensively, we got to do a good job in the red zone of holding them to 3 points or getting stops and not giving up touchdowns.
The Patriots have become one of the top programs from the Huntsville area. They've won region titles in 6 of the last 7 seasons, but there's that belief that football up there is far inferior. So tonight's game is a chance for them to make a statement.
Well, it's a great challenge for us. They've got an outstanding football team. They're 6-0. It'll be a sellout crowd, probably the biggest game ever played in their new stadium. So it's a great environment for us to see if we're going to be playoff ready.
Chris Stewart and Tyler Watts will have the call for tonight's game. And I'm just guessing, but Chris, I would imagine that Tyler would love to play in an offense as explosive as this Husky fast offense is.
Oh, who wouldn't, Mike? It is an incredibly potent offense. Tyler, not only do they have fun with the style of play, it's incredibly effective as well.
It is, and the idea of offensive football and what young kids love is scoring points. And this is an offense built to spread the ball around, push the ball down the field, and score a lot of points, and they do it quickly.
I know it's a cliche, but is it a fact the biggest threat that Bob Jones can have with their defense would really be to just hang on to the ball offensively?
It potentially could be. They have a huge offensive line. They love to run the football. And you play keep-away football, it prevents that other offense from having scoring opportunities.
Mike, they call it Husky fast. We'll see how fast Hewitt can get the ball up and down the field tonight.
Chris, have you practiced saying Igbenogany?
Yes, Noah, number 9. Say it all night long.
All right, time now to bring in Ryan Brown from the Jocks Roundtable. And, Ryan, we can talk all night about this glitzy offense, but the bottom line is taking care of business. Hewitt Trustful hasn't been to the playoffs, hasn't won a region title, rather, since 2008.
Yeah, and in that time, Mike, they've only finished second one time, and that was in 2010. So they really have not made their impact on 7A quite yet because that region looked totally different than it does now. So they're still waiting to really make an impact on 7A other than hiring Josh Floyd and building this nice new stadium.
Grayson Cash gets all the headlines for Hewitt, but he's got a great trigger man in quarterback Connor Adair and more.
Yeah, Connor Adair is having a nice year. Now, you mentioned the guy, Noah Igbenogany. Iggo, they call him, right? Man, this guy has been terrific. Never more evident than his play last week against Center Point when he touched the ball 5 times and scored on 3 of those 5 touches. This guy's dynamite. Josh Floyd says he can score on any play he calls.
You got Igbo, you got Cold Hard Cash. This was a proud program under Jack Wood, and then they hired Josh Floyd. to return them to those glory years.
Yeah, and he was kind of a curiosity hire, I guess. He came from Shiloh Christian, where Gus Malzahn coached, so he always gets associated with him. But for a while, all you knew about him was the fact that he was the highest paid coach in Alabama at the time at $120,000 a year. But he has made great strides in this program. 6 wins last year. They've already got 6 this year, so they're hoping to take that next obvious step.
All right, coming up on Blitz Game Day, we'll hand out some midterm grades, which teams are excelling and which ones are failing. But here's more from the man we just talked about. Hewitt-Trussville head coach Josh Floyd mic'd up.
Team tag out, here we go. Coach, do we have some more decals?
I hope so.
I hope so too.
You look kind of funny. It's like last week. Full speed, let's go. How y'all doing? Said I'm mic'd up.
Oh, you mic'd up?
So watch your mouth. All right, pair 2, here we go. QBs, here we go. Qs. Find a spot and throw it there every time. Throw it to purpose every time. All right, ace. Why do y'all say sace?
That's the call, coach.
Why do y'all say sace? I don't understand. Golly. Great throw. He throws kind of angry, doesn't he? You throw kind of angry. Come on, I'm going to give you a bad snap. One of the 3 is going to be a bad snap. You got to be able to still throw it. Oh. Good. I'm ready to control it. That's good. Sorry. Good. Same thing. Ace. Sace. Do your job. Okay, do your job. Don't leave anything. I mean, no regrets on Friday night. Okay, so all that means is I got to bring it every single day at practice. Right? You got to be watching the video that you get on, at home. You got to be doing that on your own. Okay, and everything else is going to take care of itself.
We had a big time last week on the Friday Night Blitz on ABC 3340. Miner head coach George Bates joined us live in the studio. He talked about his 2 big offensive stars, Ja'Cory Jackson and Jalen Adams. They call them the Holler at 'em boys. 5-0, ranked 6th. He's thinking big.
Yeah, we want to represent the North. The biggest thing is we want to represent our county. I think Jefferson County is the best school system for us football right now in the state. We got 3 of the top teams, in 6A right now, and like I said, we're just excited. So we want to represent the county, we want to represent our school and our community, and let everybody know, man, Mountain football is back, and we're not going anywhere.
Miner is so much fun to watch on offense, but they also take great pride in their defense, and they'll get after you, especially when they're playing at home.
The nickname of our stadium is the House of Pain, and so you're not going to come in our own home, and push us over. So we pride ourselves on that, fast and physical, and that's just what we live by.
Again, Miner is 6th in 6A, 5-0, unranked in the preseason. They might be the most explosive team in Class 6A, and no question they're a pleasant surprise.
Mike, I love this football team. I was out at the House of Pain to watch them play Gardendale. They are so impressive. They are beating opponents by an average of 41 points, Mike, an average of 41 points. That Gardendale game was the closest game they've played, 52-28. Poor Carver tonight. Miner's coming off a bye. They're well rested. That could get out of hand.
I look at the rankings in Class 6A, and 5 of the teams in the top 10 are from our viewing area.
Yeah, the 6A our viewing area represented in 6A better than anywhere. Hillcrest is number 2, and I think this may be the team to watch in 6A. Now, Oxford is 4. I saw them last week. Smith Lindsay is a really good running back. Miner is 6. I think that's too low. They're better than that. Clay Chalkville with 2 losses is still 9th. And you got Chelsea, maybe a surprise team at number 10.
And I want to talk about the Chelsea Hornets for just a minute, because if you're talking about surprise teams, Ryan, you might have to include the Hornets. There was no buzz about them, so to speak, before the season, but led by quarterback Matthew Marquette, here they are at 5-1.
Chris Elmore is in season number 4. He was dead last in the region in his first season. They made the playoffs last year, so they are improving. Their only loss this year is to Benjamin Russell. They're really good on offense, Mike, 42 points a game, but where they are concerned right now is their defense. They're giving up 28 points per game, so they're having to win in shootouts. That could catch up with you.
And there are plenty of other surprises, good surprises from our viewing area. I want to give some love to a school that we haven't had reason to cover much over the last decade plus. The Ohatchee Indians haven't had a winning season since 2003. That was also the last time they made the playoffs, but this year they're 6-0 and ranked 7th in 3A.
I tell our kids to embrace that. I tell our kids to enjoy that. You know, it's not a guarantee that that's going to always happen. So, you know, I tell them they've earned the right to celebrate that. They've earned the right to be proud of what they've accomplished, as long as that is not become the focal point, that they can remain focused on the next game, and they've been able to do that.
Scott Martin is in his 3rd season, and I love the attitude he's brought to the Indians.
That is a proud program. You know who built that program into a state champion?
I absolutely do. Tell him.
That's right. It was Reagan Clark, the father of UAB coach Bill Clark. So they know their football over there. Jimmy Wood took over. He won that 1977 championship. This is another really good Ohatchee team, Mike. They've got Austin Tucker and Taylor Eubanks in the backfield, quarterback and running back combo. They are really good. They play at Welborn tonight. They've only beaten Welborn one time in 15 tries, so they got their hands full there.
So after last week's games, every team now in the state is halfway through the season. So if we were handing out midterm grades, George Bateson Minor would get an A.
Yep.
Scott Martin and Ohatchee would get an A. Who else would get A's?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jacksonville. My buddy Clint Smith is the coach over there at Jacksonville. They haven't won the region since 1999. They're 5-0. J.B. Pennington, they lost to Cleveland last week, but they're still 3-0 in their region. Mountain Brook, 4-1. Their only loss is Hoover. And how about those Birmingham City schools? Can we just lump them together?
I think we can.
And it's typified by that game played at Legion Field tomorrow. Jackson, Olin, and Ramsey, they come in a combined 8-2 in that game.
You know, the one thing I learned firsthand when I was in school is that not everybody can get an A. I was happy to settle for a B. Sometimes I settled for C's, and with some D's thrown in there just so I'd be well-rounded. My parents always said I could do better, and I feel that way about some of the teams I've seen this year. And at the head of that class is Gadsden City, which just seems to have too much talent to be 1-5. They were ranked 10th in the preseason, and I hate to give anybody an F, but
well, and by the way, at Jacksonville State, I learned D's get degrees. You hate to give anyone an F, but Gadsden City has talent that is Division I talent at a lot of spots, Mike. But what they haven't been able to do is mold that into a team that is getting wins. With that talent, 1-5, it doesn't match up. Listen, they play tonight against Buckhorn. That is probably a must-win game for their postseason hopes.
What about other teams that need to ace their final exams because of their midterm grade?
Well, I think you look at first-year coaches. We've got first-year coaches at Tuscaloosa County, at Leeds, and at Calera. They would like to have a strong finish. Clay Chalkville is 4-2. They scored 6 points. I bet Jerry Hood hasn't slept 2 hours this week after they scored 6 points. Gardendale, they've been in a little bit of a slump. Spain Park in a slump. And then Alexandria, they started the year 4th. They are 2-3 right now.
You know, I mentioned midterm grades, and I sort of get the shakes. You know, I'm going to have one of those nightmares tonight. You know, where I really didn't finish school.
That's right. I understand.
Joe Whalen is in for a treat tonight, getting to see players like Oxford's Titus Lindsey Smith, Etowah's Dalton Hyatt, and of course Alaric Williams from Southside Gadsden. Good players, great games. Here's Joe.
Oh, Mike, what a football Friday we've got tonight in Etowah County. You mentioned Alaric Williams. The Auburn commit returns to the field tonight after missing the last few weeks with a knee injury. Southside Gadsden head coach Ron Daugherty tells us he expects Williams to be 100% ready to go tonight, and the Panthers are going to need it. They're taking on one of the top 6A teams in the state in Oxford, one of the top defenses in the area. The Yellow Jackets surrendering just 14 points per game.
They're really good at every position. They've got the number 10 at senior linebacker that's one of the top recruits in the state. Of course, 23, the sophomore beside him, looks just as good. They're real strong across the front. Secondary is the fastest secondary we've seen.
First place up for grabs tonight in 5A Region 7 with Arab visiting Etowah. Dalton Hyatt played quarterback for the Knights last season. Will go against his former team leading the Blue Devils offense.
No doubt he's a little bit more butterflies than normal. I sat with him at pregame meal today, and with my own son, who we made a move a few years ago and had to go back to Boaz and play. And we kind of talked to him about, after 2 or 3 plays, a series or so, it's going to get back down to a normal football game.
Blue Devils coming into this one banged up. Head coach Drew Knowles tells us 6 starters and as many as 8 will not suit up for Etowah tonight. We're going to recap both games for you tonight at 10:20 on the Friday Night Blitz. We're in Atala tonight. Joe Whalen, back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Joe. We'll look forward to that tonight. Coming up at the midpoint of the season, we are starting to build our lists now for the Friday Night Blitz Player of the Year. Some of the names that will make it might be a surprise, but what about players who have just burst onto the scene this year? Stay with us. Coming Coming into tonight's game, all eyes will be on Grayson Cash. After 7 weeks, Cash is tied for the lead in touchdowns in our state. Opposing players are having a hard time keeping up with him, and so do the guys in the broadcast booth. Here's Stu McCann with this week's Friday's Hero. Stu?
It's fun playing Husky fast.
You only score 40, I mean, you kind of get mad at yourself, really. So then it just pushes you each week to just keep on your game.
Hewitt is the highest scoring team in Class 7A, and Grayson Cash's 16 touchdowns is tied for the most in the state. The real challenge is keeping up with the live scoring.
I've got the toughest job in all of the business because they're so fast. It's hard to give any kind of critique or analogy after a play.
Bert Caruth does the highlights for the Husky Fast Network. He has his highlights too, most notably last season's call of Cash's kick return against Thompson, which received national attention.
Hit the seam, and it was nothing but shoe soles and elbows.
That was just one of those perfect timings, perfect player, perfect play, and getting to say the shoe soles and elbows statement, and it just kind of took a life of its own.
And I know he's just a funny guy. That's his personality. So yeah, it was pretty funny. It was pretty special.
We wore it out pretty good on him for a long time. So even now, somebody will say, you know, if he makes play, somebody will say it. So I mean, it's classic.
This season, Cash has scored touchdowns as a runner, receiver, and quarterback.
Our goal is at least 40 points a game. And so, I mean, it's fun racking up these kind of numbers.
The Huskies' go-to weapon leaves Caruth with a can't-miss touchdown call.
I know his middle name, and I know that his dad loves, hearing that whole name. So every time he scores, I'll go Grayson, Lane, Cash for the touchdown.
That call may not go viral, but it scores with the home fans. In Trussville, Stu McCann for Blitz Gameday.
Thank you, Stu. Cash is having a monster year. He'll certainly be one of the candidates for our Friday Night Blitz Player of the Year award, but he'll have a lot of company. We talked about surprise teams, but how about some breakout players at the midway point? Guys who've burst onto the scene. Ty Smith-Lindsay from Oxford, #1, is off to a great start for the 6-0 Yellow Jackets. We made a list before the season of potential candidates, but we couldn't have anticipated some of the names.
Well, no, you're right. And we'll see one here tonight with Connor Adair, the Hewitt-Trussville quarterback. These guys in this offense can put up a ton of yardage. You mentioned Smith-Lindsay at Oxford. I saw him last week. He is a terrific running back. And Gardendale running back Demetrius King has been really good. They've been in a little bit of a slump, but he's been terrific. Some small school guys, Trey Griffin at J.B. Pennington and Marquell Oliver at Oakman as well.
Other guys who are having the kind of years that we expected. I know people get hung up on talking about the big school guys and the guys who have committed to SEC schools, guys like Clay Chalkville wide receiver Nico Collins, but there's also guys like Maplesville running back Terrence Dunlap, who had one of the best careers of any player. Don't be surprised if he tops the 2,500 yards and 36 touchdowns he ran for last year. I love that kid. What a player.
I know you have always loved him. How about Brian Robinson at Hillcrest, Tuscaloosa, consistently going over 100 yards for the Patriots? Malcolm Askew at McAdory. Last week, rushed for 100, threw for 142, and as Joe mentioned earlier, Larrick Williams back on the field for Southside tonight. That's good to see.
Yeah, it's good to watch all those players coming into their own. Coming up, I pick the games, Ryan picks the winners. Stay with us. Two top 5 teams facing off in a great environment. A game with region championship ramifications, and for Hewitt-Trussville, a chance to prove they're elite, to prove they can beat the best, to set the stage for a run to the postseason. The 3rd-ranked Huskies hosting 5th-ranked Bob Jones. Well, it's time now for Ryan to predict the 6 games that I have picked for him. How'd you do last week?
I was 3-3, but nobody got to see it, so that's okay. 21-9 overall, right?
Okay. On to this week's picks. And we're going to start with Vestavia at Thompson.
Yeah, the Rebs have found some offense the last couple of weeks. They've scored 35 and 34 in their last 2 games. I think they get the win on the road tonight.
Ramsey at Jackson Olin. They're playing this one on Saturday.
Can I ask you one question? Is Benico Harley still at Ramsey?
He sure is.
I'm taking Ramsey then, as long as that guy's played.
How about Clay Chalkville at Gardendale? 2 teams that really need a win in a big game.
Yeah, both teams kind of limp into this one. 6 points by Clay Chalkville. Are you kidding me? 6 points? I think they rebound tonight and go crazy against Gardendale.
Arab at Etowah.
Well, I like my Etowah pick until Joe just told me 6 guys are injured. How did that happen? I'll stick with the Blue Devils against a red-hot Arab team.
All right, J.B. Pennington coming off a loss to Cleveland. How do they react tonight against Fultondale?
That was a surprising hiccup. They lose 21-7 to Cleveland. I think J.B. Pennington bounces back at home tonight against Fultondale.
And Bob Jones at Hewitt Trustful is our game of the week. We're going to see some great players. Igbenogany, Grayson Cash, Connor Adair, all of them for Hewitt Trustful. It seems like this offense is loaded.
It is, and the simple truth is the Birmingham schools in 7A do better than the Huntsville area schools. This Hewitt Trustville team is for real. They get the win here tonight.
All right, Ryan, great show tonight. Appreciate all your help as always. Thank you for watching. It's almost time now for kickoff, not just here but all over the state. There's some outstanding matchups in all classes tonight, so be sure and tune in tonight to ABC 3340 for the Friday Night Blitz at 10:20 for highlights of all of tonight's big games, scores, and more. Be true to your school, just like you would to your girl or guy.